Good morning, everyone. Today is March 16th. I'm Mr. Sheridan. This is Zoology. We are continuing our unit on livestock judging, and today, this is our second day on market hogs. So we're going to go ahead and talk about a few things. I thought that as we talk about market animals and their purpose, and we've talked about that, the reason that we judge these animals is to try to figure out a lot of what we're trying to figure out is based on their carcass merit. So today we're going to break down pigs by the cut of meat that we're looking at. So the first place that I'd like to start, which is as easy as we can get, when we look at the ham, and we can describe it as such when we're talking these livestock judging classes, we're looking for these pigs to put a bunch of pounds of product in the cooler. When they hang on the rail, we want them to be heavy muscled pigs that are going to give us lots of pounds of product. One of those places is in their ham. We can see that big, wide structured pigs that are expressively muscled and wide through their ham. That's kind of what we are looking for. Pretty hard to get too much of that particular muscle. So that's what we're looking for. When we evaluate these hogs down their top, we're looking and evaluating them over their rib and loin. For those of you who have ever eaten short ribs, those come from pigs. So we're trying to evaluate, again, how much muscle these pigs have. We want them to be bold bladed, meaning that they're wide over their shoulder blade. We want them to be wide over their rib, meaning that there's more pounds of product there. We want them to be wide, wide, wide. We're going to hammer this home a little bit. So after behind their blade, you want that rib to be wide. We want them to be wide through their loin and then flare out even more through their hip and their ham. We get bacon from the center portion of pigs, basically from their belly. It's a very important part of what we are looking for. It's a high dollar product, part of this carcass that is important. However, it's very difficult to evaluate when you're first getting started, because there's a difference between fat pigs that have waist in their lower 1/3 and having a positive thing, which is big centered, deep ribbed, deep flank pigs that are going to have plenty of bacon available when we hang that carcass. So we've got to walk that line a little bit. We don't want fat, wasty pigs that we're just cutting that fat away, but at the same time, we need them to have some dimension to the center part of their body. We need them to be deep in their rib. We need them to be bold sprung, and that's where that cut of meat is coming from. And then for those of you who have ever seen or seen the diagram of a pig carcass, their shoulder and almost everything in that portion of their body is called is the Boston butt. So if you've ever seen that cut of meat called, or if somebody's going to roast a pork butt, they're not actually talking about their butt. They're talking about the Boston butt, which is a cut of meat which comes from their shoulder. So you'll see in raisins occasionally that people will talk about that a pig has more forearm, sets down on more structure, and has more expression through their forearm. That's what they're talking about. Yes, sir.
Thank you for clearing. Well, thanks for clearing that up.
Is that what your question was? Is where the Boston butt comes from?
Well, the pork butt,
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing that.
No worries. Yep. They tried to make that as confusing as they could, for sure.
Thanks for just saying that it's another pork shoulder.
It's all good. That's exactly right. That's what we're talking about. Okay. A couple terms that we need to go through really quickly. When we talk, and I've done this already a couple of times. Excuse me. The pounds of product is exactly what it means, that we are talking about pounds of actual usable product, though. We're not talking about how much that live pig weighs. We're talking about once that hog has been slaughtered, once that carcass is cut apart and we actually have meat products available, that's what we're talking about. So a lot of times we're going to use pounds of product when we're comparing maybe a hog that isn't as correctly structured, maybe isn't as well designed, maybe he's off in his hip, maybe he's a little fatter, maybe that, not as attractive as a pig as some of the others in the class. However, pounds of product is what we sell these pigs on. So it is important, and we need to be able to talk about which pigs have more pounds of product. I wanted to talk about this word descript. So we've used it in a couple of situations. We can talk about pigs that are more descript, down their top and through their ham, meaning that they're more expressively muscled. Or we can talk about pigs that are nondescript, down their top, through their ham, that sort of thing. So we use this term in cattle as well, and sheep really, to describe whether the livestock that aren't as expressively muscled. So if you think about bodybuilders, that sort of thing, that have every single small little muscle popping out, that would be a very descript, or, when you're describing somebody, his physical appearance, the same thing we're doing with these livestock. The more descript that animal is, the more expressive they are in their muscle pattern. And I wanted to talk about heavy structured. I think we've done this before. Heavy structured animals have bigger feet, have more bone, which is important for us because as those animals get big, they can handle more. They can stand up and handle a 200-300 pound carcass, which is what these pigs weigh. You got to have big feet and big bones in order to hold that up over the course of time on concrete, which is where most of these pigs live out their lives. So questions about this stuff? Make sure that you update your notes. Again, we'll have those due at the end of this week as we get moving through these classes. So for those of you who are online, we're going to move in and start judging classes, but make sure that you've got these notes down. Make sure you add them to your notes, and we will go from there.